Hello everyone, and welcome to this deep dive into this bizarre and strange infographic I found the other day while perusing the internet. We have a total of 128 entries to go over today. The first 55 are things that the creator of this infographic claimed to plague our current society, and the rest will be things that we have to look forward to when we experience a singularity together. Now, I did find two of these infographics, a singularity one and a post-singularity one. The left side of both are nearly identical, the side depicting us as the stinky seed jack. I have merged both versions of the left side for the sake of simplicity, because I do plan on covering both singularity and post-singularity versions of this. For now though, we will focus on this version. A few quick disclaimers before we begin though. These infographics do have some heavy topics, so if that's too much for you, I'm really sorry. Some of these topics can also be pretty controversial. I want to make it clear that any beliefs or ideologies that might be presented or implied within this infographic are that of the creators, and not myself. I'm only interested in what all of these words mean, and presenting it to you. With all that out of the way, we are ready to begin, and thank you so much for your time. Inability to deploy a Turing test. The Turing test is a method of inquiry in artificial intelligence for determining whether or not a computer is capable of thinking like a human being. While the Turing test serves as a classic benchmark for evaluating AI, its limitations and challenges can hinder the ability to deploy it effectively. Creating a realistic and meaningful Turing test can be difficult. The conversation may be too narrow or might not accurately reflect the range of human interaction. The test does rely on human judgment, which can be subjective. Different evaluators might have varying thresholds for what they consider intelligent behavior. Human intelligence encompasses emotional understanding, creativity, and many other nuanced factors that are difficult for machines to replicate fully. The Turing test primarily assesses conversational ability and does not evaluate other forms of intelligence such as reasoning, problem solving, or physical interaction with the world. There may be ethical concerns about using a Turing test, such as the implications of deceiving humans into thinking they are conversing with another human. Current AI systems may lack the advanced natural language processing and contextual understanding necessary to engage in convincing, long-term conversations with humans. Even if a system appears to pass the test, it doesn't necessarily mean it possesses true understanding or consciousness. Critics argue that passing the Turing test does not equate to genuine intelligence or sentience. Self-victimization. Self-victimization is the fabrication or exaggeration of victimhood for a variety of reasons, such as to justify abuse to others, to manipulate others, a coping strategy, attention-seeking, or diffusion of responsibility. Contradiction. A contradiction is a logical statement or proposition that asserts two mutually exclusive or opposing ideas simultaneously, making it impossible for both to be true at the same time. Playing the victim. Self-victimization is the fabrication or exaggeration of victimhood for a variety of reasons. Reasons that we already covered. This is a repeat. Crypto-Christo-communism. Crypto typically refers to something that is concealed, hidden, or secret. Christo likely refers to Christianity or Christ, indicating a religious context. And communism is a political and economic ideology advocating for a classless system in which the means of production are owned communally and private ownership is abolished. Together, crypto-Christo-communism could be interpreted as a concept or practice related to a hidden or secretive form of Christianity that embraces, promotes, or aligns itself with communist principles. This might suggest a belief system that adheres to Christian values while advocating for communal ownership or economic equality, possibly in a manner that is not openly expressed or acknowledged. Last man. The last man, in German, letzter Mensch, is a term used by the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche in Thus Spoke Zarathustra to describe the antithesis of his theorized superior being, the Übermensch, whose imminent appearance is heralded by the Zarathustra. The last man is the archetypal passive nihilist. He is tired of life, takes no risks, and seeks only comfort and security. Therefore, the last man is unable to build and act upon a self-actualized ethos. High modernism. High modernism, also known as high modernity, is a form of modernity characterized by an unfaltering confidence in science and technology, as means to reorder the social and natural world. The high modernist movement was particularly prevalent during the Cold War, especially in the late 1950s and 1960s. Terrorism is like car accidents. The statement, terrorism is like car accidents, can be seen as an analogy suggesting that both terrorism and car accidents can result in loss of life and injury. But it is important to analyze the implications and underlying meanings of such a comparison. This analogy can spark various discussions, and one could approach it from different angles. Some may interpret the analogy as trivializing the severity and impacts of terrorism, comparing a targeted act of violence with everyday accidents. This could lead to insensitivity regarding the real fears and trauma associated with terrorism. The phrase may serve to shift the conversation towards how society perceives risks and the level of fear associated with different types of violence. Both issues might prompt discussions about preventative measures, whether through road safety regulations in the case of accidents or counterterrorism policies in the case of terrorism. The statement can serve as a starting point for a complex discussion about risk, violence, and societal response. However, it is crucial to approach such comparisons thoughtfully to avoid oversimplification and misrepresentation of serious issues. Liberty versus safety. The tension between liberty and safety is a central theme in political philosophy, ethics, and public policy. It often manifests in debates about the balance between individual freedoms and collective security, especially in the context of government actions, laws, and societal norms. The balance between liberty and safety is a complex and evolving conversation. It requires careful consideration of the implications of policies and actions taken in the name of safety, while safeguarding the rights that form the foundation of democratic societies. Formal sadomasochism. Formal sadomasochism, often referred to in the context of BDSM, is a structured and consensual form of sexual and emotional expression that involves power exchange, role-playing, and an exploration of pleasure and pain. Brutalist qualia. Brutalist architecture is an architectural style that emerged during the 1950s in the United Kingdom among the reconstruction projects of the post-war era. Brutalist buildings are characterized by minimalist constructions that showcase the bare building materials and structural elements over decorative design. Qualia refer to the subjective qualitative experiences of perception. Some examples of qualia include emotional responses, taste sensations, or color precepts, like the way you experience the color red, which is subjective and cannot be fully conveyed in words. Bringing the concepts of brutalist and qualia together could involve exploring how the aesthetic and emotional experiences elicited by brutalist architecture affect human perception and experience. How the stark, raw nature of brutalist architecture influence the subjective experience of space. What emotions or thoughts does it provoke in individuals encountering it? Can the qualities of brutalist design lead to specific qualia related to urban life, social structures, or political sentiments? For instance, does a brutalist building evoke feelings of alienation, power, nostalgia, or community? How might the principles of brutalism be applied or challenged in the context of creating spaces that aim to evoke certain qualitative experiences. Can the integrity and rawness of brutalist materials lead to a unique awareness of one's environment? Engaging with the idea of brutalist qualia could lead to philosophical discussions about the nature of experience in relation to aesthetics and design. Scientism. Scientism refers to an ideological belief that the methods of the natural sciences and the empirical approach to knowledge should be applied universally in all areas of inquiry, including social sciences, humanities, and philosophy. It embodies a view that science has the authority to answer all questions about reality, and that it is the only valid path to knowledge. Scientism places a strong emphasis on empirical evidence and the scientific method as the primary means of obtaining knowledge. This often leads to skepticism about other forms of understanding or knowledge, such as philosophical reasoning, theological beliefs, or subjective experiences. Scientism tends to favor reductionist approaches, suggesting that complex phenomena can be explained by breaking them down into their constituent parts, often ignoring the larger context or system in which they exist. Proponents of scientism often dismiss or devalue other ways of knowing or understanding, such as moral, aesthetic, or cultural insights, viewing them as inferior or irrelevant compared to scientific explanations. Scientism may advocate for the idea that scientific reasoning should be applied to all disciplines, including ethics, art, and religion, asserting that these fields can and should be analyzed through a scientific lens. On a philosophical level, scientism raises debates about the nature of knowledge, truth, and the limitations of scientific inquiry. Critics argue that it oversimplifies and undermines the richness of human experience and understanding. Critics argue that scientism overreaches by claiming that science can fully explain all aspects of existence. This view can overlook the complexities of human values, emotions, and social dynamics that may not be easily measurable or quantifiable. Scientism tends to ignore valuable insights from other fields of study. For instance, ethics, artistic expression, and traditions can provide meaningful understandings of human life that go beyond scientific inquiry. Some philosophers argue that scientific inquiry itself is based on certain philosophical assumptions, such as empiricism, and these assumptions cannot be proven scientifically. Thus, science rests upon philosophical foundations that are not inherently scientific. Proponents of a more pluralistic approach to knowledge argue that human experiences encompass more than just what can be observed and measured. Qualitative research, narrative, intuition, and other forms of understanding are also crucial in grasping the complexities of life. While science has undoubtedly made significant contributions to human knowledge, scientism can be seen as an ideology that risks overextending the reach of scientific inquiry into domains where it may not be wholly applicable. Acknowledging the interplay between science and other forms of understanding allows for a more comprehensive approach to knowledge that honors the multifaceted nature of human experience. Orthogonality. Orthogonality is a term that originates from mathematics and geometry, primarily referring to the concept of perpendicularity. In a broader sense, it has applications in various fields such as linear algebra, statistics, computer science, engineering, and even philosophy. In mathematics, particularly in linear algebra and geometry, orthogonality refers to the relationship between two vectors that are perpendicular to each other. In statistics, orthogonality can refer to the independence of variables. Two random variables are orthogonal if their covariance is 0, implying that they are uncorrelated. This concept is often used in regression and ANOVA techniques. In computer science, this can refer to the design of programming languages or systems. In this context, it signifies the property where changes in one part of a system do not affect other parts. For example, a programming language can be orthogonal if it allows a variety of combinations of features without unexpected interactions. In control systems and signal processing, this is important for minimizing interference in signals, such as in communication systems, where orthogonal frequency division multiplexing (OFDM) is used. In philosophy, This can be discussed in terms of ideas or concepts that are independent and do not influence each other. For instance, when discussing ethical principles or theories, orthogonality might be used to suggest that differing ethical frameworks can coexist without directly contradicting each other. Culture of life. The culture of life refers to a worldview and societal framework that prioritizes the inherent dignity and value of human life at all stages, from conception to natural death. This term is often associated with pro-life movements, particularly in the context of discussions surrounding abortion, euthanasia, and other life-related ethical issues. The culture of life advocates for policies and practices that protect and enhance the quality of life, emphasizing compassion, support for the families, and services for those in vulnerable situations. Key aspects of a culture of life might include acknowledging the inherent worth of every person and advocating for their rights and freedoms, encouraging family structures and providing resources for parents and children, including healthcare, education, and social services, addressing not only physical health needs but also emotional, spiritual, and mental well-being, promoting awareness for options available for unplanned pregnancies, such as adoption and support services for expectant mothers, advocating for the humane treatment of individuals at the end of life, and opposing practices like assisted suicide and euthanasia, supporting marginalized groups such as people with disabilities, the elderly, and the economically disadvantaged, to ensure they have access to the same opportunities and care, encouraging discussions about life ethics, moral values, and the implications of modern technologies on life, like genetic manipulation and reproductive technologies. The culture of life contradicts what is sometimes referred to as a culture of death, where human life may be devalued or commodified, leading to ethical dilemmas and social policies that prioritize autonomy or convenience over the sanctity of life. Volk. The term Volk, which means folk or people in German, has a complex historical and cultural significance. It has been used in various contexts and can evoke different meanings based on the situation. Overall, while Volk can represent authentic cultural and national pride, its historic baggage requires careful consideration, especially in discussions surrounding identity, nationalism, and ethnicity. Contributing through defeat. Contributing through defeat is a phrase that can encapsulate the idea that even in loss or failure, individuals or groups can learn valuable lessons, build resilience, and foster growth, both personally and collectively. This concept often applies in various contexts, such as sports, personal endeavors, political movements, and social activism. In essence, the idea of contributing through defeat emphasizes the importance of perspective and the potential for growth that can arise from setbacks, recognizing that defeat can bear valuable lessons, can transform how individuals and communities approach challenges, fostering a mindset oriented towards learning and resilience rather than despair. Callous altruism. Callous altruism is a term that describes a paradoxical form of behavior where an individual or group may engage in altruistic actions or express concern for others but does so in a manner that is indifferent, insincere, or even detrimental to the very people they claim to help. This concept can be understood through various lenses such as psychology, sociology, and ethics. Callous altruism often manifests as gestures that appear generous, but lack genuine care or compassion for the recipients. For example, donating to a charity for public recognition while not fully engaging with or understanding the cause can be seen as an example. In some cases, altruistic actions may be driven by self-interest, including seeking social status, political gain, or financial benefits. This can lead to situations where the supposed beneficiaries are neglected and exploited. Callous altruism can involve a failure to consider the complexities of the situations faced by others. For instance, well-meaning interventions may inadvertently harm communities by imposing external solutions without understanding local needs or dynamics. Individuals demonstrating callous altruism might perform good deeds without emotional engagement, leading to a lack of genuine empathy for those they support or help. This attachment can make their actions seem insincere or patronizing. Actions taken without authentic commitment can lead to negative consequences, undermining the very goals intended by the altruistic behavior. For example, implementing a charity project that creates dependency rather than empowerment can harm rather than help. Some individuals may engage in callous altruism because they believe that their good deeds will allow them to absolve themselves of other, less ethical behaviors. This moral licensing can lead to a sense of entitlement about their good actions while ignoring their responsibilities towards those they claim to help. Callous altruism can also be influenced by societal norms. In cultures that prize certain altruistic behaviors, individuals may conform to these expectations without a true commitment to the underlying values of compassion and empathy. Stasis. Stasis in a society reflects a complex interplay of stability and resistance to change across various dimensions. While a certain level of stasis can provide stability and predictability, excessive stagnation can lead to negative consequences, including social unrest, economic decline, and cultural rigidity. Understanding stasis in its social context highlights the needs for balance between maintaining traditions and embracing change to foster growth and resilience. Cargo cults. Cargo cults are religious or social movements that emerged in Melanesia, particularly among indigenous peoples in response to contact with Western colonizers and the introduction of material goods. These cults typically arose in the context of missionary activities, military presence during World War II, and the subsequent influx of foreign goods and wealth. The term cargo cult itself refers to the belief that ancestral spirits will deliver material wealth, or cargo, to the faithful in exchange for certain rituals or behaviors. One of the most famous cargo cults is the John Frum movement on the island of Tanna in Vanuatu. Followers believe that a figure named John Frum, who is sometimes associated with American servicemen during World War II, will return and bring prosperity. The movement emphasizes the arrival of cargo and often involves rituals that celebrate this anticipated return. Antinatalism. Antinatalism is a philosophical viewpoint that argues against procreation, asserting that it is morally wrong to bring new individuals into existence. Proponents of antinatalism, known as antinatalists, often believe that life inherently involves suffering, obligation, and various forms of harm. Thus, they contend that it is better not to create new lives to spare them from potential pain and adverse experiences. FAI. In discussions about artificial intelligence, FAI refers to the development of AI systems that are safe, beneficial, and aligned with human values. The term is often used in the context of concerns about the potential risks of superintelligent AI. The term is to ensure that as AI systems become more capable, they remain aligned with human interests and do not pose existential risks. In government contexts, FAI primarily stands for the Federal Acquisition Institute, which is dedicated to enhancing the knowledge and skills of the federal acquisition workforce. Established in 1976 under the Office of Federal Procurement Policy Act, the Federal Acquisition Institute has been charged with fostering and promoting the development of a federal acquisition workforce. FAI facilitates and promotes career development and strategic human capital management for the acquisition workforce. The acquisition workforce is an exclusive community of highly qualified and talented individuals who support the development, acquisition, and sustainment of warfighting capabilities, systems, and services for the Department of Defense. Barely Stage 4. The Kardashev scale is a method of measuring a civilization's technological advancements based on the amount of energy it is able to utilize. Proposed by Russian astrophysicist Nikolai Kardashev in 1964, the scale has three primary types, with an extension for more advanced civilization. Type 1's harnesses all the energy available on its home planet. Type 2 utilizes the total energy output of its star, often conceptualized as a Dyson sphere. Type 3's control energy on the scale of its entire galaxy. As for a Type 4 civilization, It is often considered to harness energy at the scale of the entire universe, potentially manipulating energy on a galactic or cosmic scale. Referring to a barely Stage 4 civilization suggests a civilization that is on the cusp of fully utilizing universal energy but has not yet mastered or fully accessed it. It may have capabilities to manipulate energy across multiple galaxies or systems, but it is not yet capable of doing so fully or efficiently. This classification is largely speculative, as we currently have no evidence of any civilization at Type 4 on the Kardashev scale, or Type 3 or Type 2 for that matter. Exhibitionist Stockholm Syndrome. Exhibition refers to the act of exposing oneself sexually to others without consent, typically for the purpose of sexual gratification. In a broader sense, it can also mean a tendency to display one's thoughts, emotions, or identity publicly. Stockholm Syndrome is a psychological phenomenon that occurs when hostages or victims of kidnapping develop positive feelings towards their captors, sometimes to the point of defending or siding with them. It is often associated with traumatic bonding, where the victim forms an attachment to their abuser due to a dependency on them for survival or emotional support. When combining these concepts, Exhibitionist Stockholm Syndrome could hypothetically refer to a situation where an individual feels a compulsion to display or expose themselves, emotionally or sexually, in the context of a relationship or situation that is inherently unhealthy or abusive, leading to an attachment to a perceived captor or dominating figure. It might describe a scenario where someone in a harmful situation feels compelled to reveal personal or intimate details about themselves as a way to seek approval or connection from their abuser, developing a distorted sense of loyalty or affection. 2 boxing reprobates. The phrase might be used metaphorically to comment on how some athletes, particularly in combat sports, can be viewed as reprobates, either due to actions outside their sport, controversies, or the culture that sometimes surrounds boxing, including violence and street credibility. The phrase could represent the inner conflict of athletes caught between the discipline of their sport and the temptations or challenges of life outside the ring, highlighting how fame, pressure, and personal choices play a role in their lives. Blackmailed handlers. The phrase blackmailed handlers suggest a very serious and troubling situation involving individuals who may exploit or manipulate for sexual purposes and are themselves subject to blackmail. This involves deeply sensitive issues related to abuse, exploitation, and coercion. The phrase could imply the existence of organized networks involved in exploitation and abuse, where individuals, the handlers, manage to exploit victims and are involved in illicit activities that may lead to them being blackmailed. It may describe individuals who are engaging in abusive behaviors and, due to their illegal actions, find themselves vulnerable to being blackmailed by others who may have compromising information about them. The phrase could also reflect a focus on the victims of this abuse, indicating a cycle where those who exploit are themselves manipulated or controlled through threats by others involved in the criminal enterprise. Pattern recognition taboo. This phrase might suggest a critique of social norms where certain truths or patterns are obvious, but not openly discussed due to social taboos. This could relate to topics like mental health, abuse, or systematic inequalities. In psychology, some patterns of behavior or thought processes may be neglected or ignored because discussing them would challenge societal norms or expose uncomfortable truths. This could relate to groupthink, denial, or the suppression of certain experiences. The phrase could hint at the tension that arises when an individual's understanding or recognition of certain patterns contradicts social beliefs or norms, leading to discomfort or avoidance. The combination may be used to analyze how cultures recognize and react to patterns within their social fabric. For example, there may be unrecognizable patterns of behavior within certain communities that individuals are socially conditioned to ignore or afraid to address. Laughter epidemics. Laughter epidemics are spontaneous outbreaks of uncontrollable laughter that can spread among groups, often resembling contagious behavior. Historically, notable cases include a 1962 incident in Tanzania where hundreds experienced prolonged laughter, leading to school closures, Such episodes highlight human responses to psychological stress and collective stimuli. Psychologically, laughter serves as a bonding mechanism and coping strategy, promoting social cohesion and providing stress relief. Social dynamics can lead groups to laugh collectively, influenced by situational triggers. Culturally, perceptions of laughter may vary, affecting how these outbreaks are understood and expressed in different societies. In today's digital age, laughter can spread through social media, reminiscent of traditional laughter epidemics. Laughter epidemics exemplify the interplay between psychology, sociology, and culture, shedding light on collective human experiences and their implications for social interaction and emotional expression. Fighter class and NPCs. When discussing the fighter class and NPCs in the context of real life, we can draw parallels between the archetypes and themes present in role-playing games and the roles individuals often play in society. CIA. I can't read that out loud on YouTube, but it should be pretty self-explanatory. Obesity. Obesity is a chronic, complex disease defined by excessive fat deposits that can impair health. Obesity can lead to increased risk of type 2 diabetes and heart disease. It can affect bone health and reproduction. It increases the risk of certain cancers. Runaway self-domestication. Runaway self-domestication is a concept that can refer to the unplanned or unexpected ways in which humans evolve socially and psychologically. Often due to environmental pressures or cultural shifts, this term is sometimes used in discussions about anthropological or sociological evolution, the effects of civilization on human behavior, and the consequences of domestication in broader ecological and psychological contexts. Over time, societal pressures can encourage behaviors that prioritize conformity, social cohesion, and pacifism, at the potential cost of traits like aggression, independence, or competitiveness that once held evolutionary advantages. As societies become more complex, structures may develop that reinforce certain behaviors, such as increased reliance on social hierarchies, community norms, or laws, possibly leading to a loss of personal autonomy and individuality. The environment we create with technology, urbanization, and social media can shape human behavior profoundly. People may become increasingly sedentary, socially isolated, or reliant on digital interactions, which can lead to psychological and physical changes. With changes in social structures and behaviors, there can be an increase in mental health issues. The pressure to fit into standardized norms can lead to anxiety, depression, and disconnection from one's authentic self. Runaway self-domestication might also lead to a loss of traditional survivor skills, self-sufficiency, and independence. As people become more dependent on technology and complex systems, their ability to navigate the natural world diminishes. In modern urban environments, individuals often adapt to a lifestyle that prioritizes convenience over physical activity, leading to health issues and a disconnection from nature. The rise of smartphones and social media has transformed human interactions, sometimes encouraging superficial connections over meaningful relationships, and changing the way we communicate and emphasize with each other. Globalization can lead to cultural homogenization, wherein diverse cultural traits are replaced by dominant global cultures. This can stifle individuality and uniqueness within societies. Utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is a moral philosophy that advocates for actions that maximize overall happiness over utility. It is one of the most influential theories in ethics and has shaped a multitude of fields, including law, economics, politics, and social policy. The fundamental tenet of utilitarianism is that the best action is the one that produces the greatest happiness for the greatest number of people. Happiness is typically defined in terms of pleasure and the absence of pain. Utilitarianism is a form of consequentialism, which means that the morality of an action is determined by its outcomes, rather than the intentions behind it. The rightness or wrongness of an act depends on the results it produces. Utility is a measure of the satisfaction or pleasure derived from an action. Utilitarianism seeks to quantify the benefits and harms of actions, often to compare different choices systematically. Escapist irony. Generally, this refers to the use of irony as a means of escape from reality, social constraints, or personal dilemmas. It often involves playful or sarcastic detachment from challenging situations, emphasizing how individuals or characters might use irony to cope with their circumstances. While escapist irony can be a useful tool for coping and reflection, it can also have its drawbacks. Frequent reliance on irony may lead to avoidance of deep emotional engagement with real issues, preventing genuine problem solving or catharsis. Over time, this form of irony can foster cynicism, as individuals may become desensitized to serious topics, leading to a lack of empathy or concern. In communication, what is intended as escapist irony may be misunderstood, leading to miscommunication or conflict if the audience does not share the same ironic perspective. Universalism. Universalism is a concept that encompasses a range of ideas across various fields, including philosophy, religion, ethics, and politics. At its core, universalism asserts that certain values, rights, or principles apply universally to all people, irrespective of culture, nationality, religion, or other distinctions. Moral universalism is the belief that there are ethical standards universally applicable to all humans. This can take the form of human rights, which are considered inherent and inalienable for all people. Religious universalism is the idea that all religions have a common core of truth and that there is a universal spiritual truth underlying all religious traditions. This often promotes interfaith dialogue and understanding. The assertion that certain political rights and responsibilities apply to all individuals regardless of their geographic or social context is called political universalism. This includes concepts such as democracy, freedom of speech, and equality under the law. Of course, there are critics of universalism. Some argue that this can impose Western values on non-Western cultures, disregarding the importance of cultural context. Cultural relativists maintain that moral and ethical standards should be understood within their cultural frameworks. The application of universal principles can be contentious, as different societies may have conflicting views on what constitutes a universal right or value. There is concern that an emphasis on universalism may lead to cultural homogenization, undermining local practices, beliefs, and identities. Environmentalism. Environmentalism is a broad and multifaceted movement, focused on the protection, preservation, and improvement of the natural environment. It encompasses a wide range of issues, philosophies, and practices aimed at promoting sustainability and mitigation of the human impact on the planet. I fail to see why this is supposed to be bad. Hysteria. Hysteria, in a social context, refers to a collective phenomena where a group of people experiences irrational fears, anxieties, or behaviors that lead to widespread panic or disruption. This concept has historical roots and can encompass a variety of socio-cultural responses to events or issues perceived as threatening. The role of traditional and social media is crucial in spreading sensationalized stories, amplifying fears and creating a sense of urgency, which can exacerbate collective hysteria. In moments of hysteria, certain groups or individuals may be unjustly blamed for the perceived threat, leading to phenomena such as xenophobia, discrimination, or violence against scapegoated communities. Events that evoke strong emotions can trigger hysteria, especially when combined with uncertainty and lack of information. The widespread panic during the funny flu pandemic exemplified social hysteria, where fears about the flu led to panic buying, social strife, and the spread of misinformation. Issues such as youth violence, drug abuse, or internet safety frequently provoke moral panics, where societal fears lead to calls for drastic actions, often based on exaggerated or unfounded claims. In some cases, collective hysteria can emerge from social movements as a response to injustice or inequality, leading to fervent activism or protests that may escalate quickly due to heightened emotions and perceived urgency. Politics. Haha, politics suck, am I right, guys? Anyway, that's enough. Next. Male, often referred to as male circumcision in medical or cultural contexts, refers to the surgical removal from the While it is preferred for varying reasons, including religious, cultural, or medical, its terminology can invoke strong opinions, with mutilation often highlighting the ethical debate surrounding the practice, particularly when considering consent and bodily autonomy. Conscientiousness. This refers to the degree of organization, dependability, diligence, and goal-oriented behavior that an individual exhibits. People high in this tend to be disciplined, careful, and thorough in their work and personal lives. They are generally good at planning, paying attention to detail, and following through on commitments. While conscientiousness is valued in many societies, the expression of this trait may vary across cultural contexts. In some cultures, being seen as dependable and diligent is highly prized, while other cultures may emphasize flexibility and creativity more so. Catharsis denialism. This could involve individuals or groups denying the value or need for emotional release. For instance, they might believe that expressing emotions is unnecessary or even harmful, leading to negative psychological outcomes. Some people might engage in denialism regarding their emotional health, refusing to acknowledge the need for cathartic processes or therapeutic interventions. This denial can lead to unresolved emotions that exacerbate mental health issues. In some cultures or communities, expressing emotions is stigmatized. Catharsis denialism might be seen as cultural phenomena where societal pressures discourage individuals from seeking the emotional release and healing that catharsis can provide. In contrast to cathartic practices that encourage emotional processing, catharsis denialism opposes or negates the importance of addressing repressed emotions. This stance can hinder personal growth, emotional well-being, and healing from trauma. UBI. Universal Basic Income is a social welfare proposal in which all citizens of a given population regularly receive a minimum income in the form of an unconditional transfer payment. Dysgenics. Dysgenics is a term that refers to the study or concept of the genetic decline of a population. It is often used in discussions of genetics, eugenics, and population dynamics, and it typically suggests that certain traits or conditions that are perceived as undesirable are becoming more prevalent due to factors such as lower reproductive success among individuals with, quote, desirable traits. The concept of dysgenics is controversial, particularly due to its associations with eugenics and the ethical implications of trying to manage human reproduction based on the perceived desirability of certain traits. Critics argue that such views can lead to discrimination, stigmatization, and violations of human rights. They also raise concerns about the oversimplification of complex genetic, social, and environmental interactions. What forest? The dark forest theory is a concept in the realm of astrobiology and the search for extraterrestrial life, particularly associated with the three-body problem, a science fiction novel by Chinese author Liu Cixin. The theory posits that the universe is like a dark forest where every civilization is a silent hunter, hiding and observing in a vast expanse filled with other potentially hostile civilizations. Just as hunters in a dark forest must remain silent to avoid attracting attention to themselves, civilizations in the cosmos may choose to remain quiet to avoid being detected by others. In the context of the dark forest theory, asking what forest could relate to questioning the nature of the universe in which we exist. It implies a search for understanding about what the, quote, dark forest even is, or if that's even an accurate analogy to the situation our planet is in. It may reflect on human civilization's position within this metaphorical forest. Are we the hunters hiding and observing, or are we making our presence known without fully understanding that we are the prey? It prompts contemplation about the approaches we take in searching for and trying to communicate with potential alien civilizations. Peacock tales. Peacock tales might metaphorically represent how individuals or groups flaunt certain traits or behaviors to attract attention, status, or power. In social contexts, people often display wealth, talent, or other attributes to become more appealing to others, similar to how peacocks display their feathers. A conspiracy surrounding this concept could involve examining how societal norms and values exploit these behaviors to maintain power structures. Young men in the spring. This phrase may reference a few different contexts, including mental health issues, seasonal patterns of mortality, or even thematic elements in literature and cultural references. Research has shown that there can be seasonal variations in mental health issues and rates. For example, some studies suggest that rates may peak in the spring months for various reasons, including the interplay of biological, psychological, and social factors. Several hypotheses exist, such as increased access to mental health care during warmer months or changes in daylight exposure affecting mood. Statistics often indicate that young men ages 15 to 34 are particularly vulnerable to suicide, with rates being significantly higher compared to their female counterparts. Centralizing imbecilization of subsystems. This phrase appears to combine several concepts that might relate to social, political, or technological theories. The phrase might reflect a critique of centralized governance or organizational structures that lead to a diminished capacity for intelligent decision-making. It could suggest that central authorities simplify complex issues to the point where nuanced or critical perspectives are disregarded. This perspective sees centralization as potentially stifling innovation and reducing the effectiveness of local or specialized knowledge. In a technological context, it could refer to software or systems where central control leads to a loss of individual component function or autonomy. For example, large software platforms might become so simplified that they hinder advanced user capabilities or the functionality that subsystems once had when they operated more independently. The phrase could also serve as a comment on societal trends where mass media or dominant narratives simplify complex issues, leading to a populace that is less informed or critical. This could be related to the effects of social media, where simplistic content often garners more attention than in-depth analysis. The centralization of decision-making can lead to efficiency, but the downsides include potential oversimplification of complicated issues, ultimately resulting in poor decision-making. The idea of imbecilization could resonate in discussions about education, media literacy, and the importance of critical thinking. In a technological context, it raises concern about the control of data and functionality, advocating for more decentralized systems that promote autonomy and diversity of thought. Anthropocentrism. Anthropocentrism is a philosophical viewpoint that places human beings at the center of consideration, prioritizing human interests, values, and experiences above those of other entities, including animals, plants, and the ecosystem as a whole. This perspective has been influential in various fields, including ethics, environmental philosophy, and ecology. Atrophied morality. The phrase atrophied morality evokes the idea of a moral framework that has weakened or degenerated over time, similar to how atrophy refers to the wasting away or reduction of muscle or tissue due to the disuse or lack of activity. When applied to morality, this concept suggests a decline in ethical standards, principles, or behaviors within individuals, societies, or cultures. Metaphorically could refer to individuals or groups that exist outside the dominant culture or societal norms. This usage could highlight the experiences of marginalized or underrepresented communities whose values or customs differ from mainstream society. The term could symbolize those who are perceived as having foreign or different cultural practices. In this case, metaphor might refer to anyone whose identity or worldview diverges significantly from that of the majority, whether due to ethnicity, religion, or ideology. Another interpretation could involve the concept of being metaphorically goy, in the sense of being oblivious to certain truths, experiences, or perspectives, essentially living in ignorance of the complexities of the world or the experiences of others. This could be applied to discussions about privilege, social injustices, or a lack of awareness regarding cultural differences. In a political or ideological context, this phrase might refer to those who do not understand or appreciate specific political, social, or philosophical frameworks. This usage could imply a dichotomy between insiders who comprehend certain critical issues and outsiders who do not. In a globalized world, one might use metaphorical to describe people navigating through diverse cultural landscapes with varying degrees of understanding or acceptance. It implies a situation where individuals from one culture might not fully grasp the intricacies or values of another, reflecting the challenge of cross-cultural dialogue. Problem with space-time. The problem with space-time encompasses various issues across physics, philosophy, and cosmology. Philosophers debate whether space-time is a fundamental aspect of the universe or an emergent property. Einstein's relativity introduces the concept of relative simultaneity, challenging traditional views of time and causality. In general relativity, gravity is described as the curvature of space-time caused by mass, leading to complex equations. Singularities at black holes, and the Big Bang present challenges to our understanding and highlight the need for a unified theory integrating general relativity with quantum mechanics. The challenge of unifying general relativity with quantum mechanics remains, with theories like string theory and loop quantum gravity proposed to describe space-time at a quantum level. Questions about whether space-time is discrete or continuous at tiny scales persist. Dark matter and dark energy make up about 95% of the universe, yet their nature is largely unknown, affecting our understanding of space-time. Cosmic inflation raises additional questions about space-time's properties during the universe's rapid expansion. The second law of thermodynamics introduces entropy, suggesting a directional flow of time and prompting inquiries into the relationship between time and space-time. While many aspects of space-time have been experimentally confirmed, such as time dilation and gravitational waves, some theories remain untested, presenting ongoing challenges for researchers. Girardian horror. The term Girardian horror likely refers to ideas derived from the work of French philosopher and literary critic René Girard, particularly his theories on violence, scapegoating, and mimicry, as articulated in works such as Violence and the Sacred and Things Hidden Since the Foundation of the World. Girard posits that human desire is not inherently individualistic, but rather mimetic, meaning we desire what others desire because we seek to imitate them. This imitation can lead to rivalry and conflict, as individuals compete for the same objects of desire. In response to escalated violence and conflict, societies often engage in scapegoating. This involves blaming and expelling an individual or group to restore social order. The scapegoat is a unifying figure that the community rallies against, thus diverting internal tensions and violence outwards. Girard suggests that violence is often sacralized, meaning that in many cultures, rituals surrounding violence serve to maintain or contain social tension. The scapegoating process can create a temporary peace, but often leads to cycles of violence. Girardian horror could refer to narratives or themes in literature and film that encapsulate his ideas about mimetic desire and violence, exposing the darker aspects of human nature and the consequences of rivalry and scapegoating. This can manifest in horror stories that depict the breakdown of social order and the ensuing chaos that arises from violent desires. Gore-filtered. Being gore-filtered reflects a personal and intentional approach to media consumption driven by individual boundaries regarding disgust, fear, or morality. On a side note, there's nothing wrong with being gore-filtered. Not everyone wants to see that shit, man. Homogenization. In sociology, this can refer to the process by which cultures, practices, or societies become more similar, often as a result of globalization, media, or technology spreading common values, habits, and consumer practices. Stage. The anal stage is a concept of Sigmund Freud's theory of psychosexual development. According to Freud, human development occurs through a series of stages, each characterized by different focal points of pleasure and activities. The anal stage is the second stage in this theory, typically occurring between the ages of approximately 18 months and 3 years. The way parents approach toilet training can greatly influence the child's development during this stage. Overly strict or harsh methods may lead to a sense of inferiority or rebellion, while a more relaxed approach can foster confidence and autonomy. A retentive personality is if a child is excessively controlled or punished during toilet training. They may develop an anal retentive personality characterized by traits such as obsession with cleanliness, perfectionism, and orderliness. Conversely, if a child is too lax in their training, they may develop an impulsive personality, often associated with messiness, carelessness, or a lack of self-discipline. Freud believed that experiences during the stage could influence adult personality and behavior patterns. These traits might manifest in various ways throughout life, affecting relationships, work ethic, and social interactions. Getting wiped out by a comet. The societal context surrounding the idea of a comet wiping out humanity involves various themes, including existential anxiety, cultural narratives, scientific discourse, community resilience, philosophical implications, and global cooperation. Societies experience fear regarding cosmic events, which drives discussion about risk and can lead to investment in disaster preparedness measures. At the state we are currently in terms of society and global cooperation, this infographic could imply that our most likely end of humanity could be a comet, besides doing it ourselves, or from another type of cosmic natural disaster. And just like that, we are finished with the first half of our infographic. Now, I already said that there were going to be some terms that I don't really see as bad things, which the author of this infographic seems to be implying that they are by, putting them on here. Things like conscientiousness or environmentalism. I really don't see how they're bad or why they're even on here. I will admit, though, I am pleasantly surprised at the lack of word salad entries in this infographic, which you typically see a lot of in, these kinds of things, or icebergs even. Of course, we did already have a couple of meme entries like the NPC thing, a couple of repeats, and, some controversial topics that this humble bum has no right getting into. With that being said, ye have been warned, because the right side of the infographic with the funny little Singularity peep, it has a couple more word salad entries, or honestly, entries that are way too vague to be taken seriously, if I'm being honest. Before that, though, let's define a singularity. A singularity often refers to a point at which a drastic change occurs, fundamentally altering the structure, dynamics, and functioning of the society this is happening in. This concept is frequently associated with technological advancements, particularly in reference to the technological singularity, which describes a hypothetical future point where technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible, resulting in unforeseen changes that could affect every aspect of human life. And with that, we are ready to begin terms 1 through 73. Paradox. A paradox is a statement or concept that appears contradictory or self-refuting, but upon closer examination may reveal an underlying truth. Paradoxes often challenge our intuitive understanding and provoke deeper thought or discussion. They can occur in various fields, including philosophy, logic, mathematics, and literature. For example, the statement, "This statement is false," is a classic paradox. If the statement is true, then it must be false, as it claims. But if it is false, then it must be true, leading to a logical contradiction. Oracularity. Oracularity refers to the quality or state of being oracular, which is typically associated with the ability to provide profound or prophetic insights, often in a manner that seems mysterious, enigmatic, or difficult to interpret. The term derives from oracle, which historically refers to a person, such as a priest or priestess, through whom divine advice or prophecy was sought, often in ancient cultures like Greece. Oracular statements are often characterized by their ambiguous language, leaving interpretations open and subject to various meanings. In a broader sense, oracularity can also pertain to the style of communication or expression that carries a sense of authority or wisdom, often invoking deep philosophical or existential truths. This concept is frequently used in literature, art, and cultural discourse to describe statements, figures, or narratives that convey deep, sometimes cryptic meanings. Global cooling. Global cooling refers to a significant and lasting decrease in Earth's average surface temperature. It was a notable concern, particularly during the late 1960s and 1970s, when some scientists and the media feared the onset of a new ice age due to observed temperature fluctuations, volcanic activity, and other climatic events. Over time, however, the scientific community has shifted its focus to global warming, primarily driven by human activities like fossil fuel combustion and deforestation, which increase greenhouse gas emissions. De-Brahminization. De-Brahminization, while primarily rooted in the context of Indian society and its caste system, can also be examined through a broader lens within global society. This perspective follows understanding how caste hierarchies, privilege, and discrimination manifest in various cultural contexts around the world, and how movements advocating for social justice and equity can challenge these systems. While the term Brahmin is specific to the Indian caste system, notions of caste-like hierarchies exist in other societies as well. For example, in various cultures, there are systems of social stratification based on class, ethnicity, race, or religion, which may function similarly to caste systems. Understanding these parallels can help frame de-Brahminization as part of a universal struggle against social hierarchies. Infanticide. A grave and disgusting issue that has existed across various cultures and historical contexts. Vampires. Vampires can serve as a metaphor for various societal issues. Just as traditional vampires are often depicted as preying on humans for sustenance, in a singularity society, they could symbolize exploitative behaviors, whether by corporations, governments, or AI entities, that extract resources, human or otherwise, for their own gain. Demiurge apologism. Demiurge apologism typically refers to a defense or justification of the concept of the demiurge, which originates from ancient philosophical and religious traditions, particularly Gnosticism and Platonic thought. The demiurge is often depicted as a creator god responsible for the fashioning and maintenance of the material world, but is also frequently associated with imperfection and ignorance. In some traditions, the demiurge is viewed negatively, seen as a false god, or an obstacle to true spiritual enlightenment. In Gnostic belief, the demiurge is often contrasted with a higher, transcendent divinity, the monad or the true god. The demiurge is portrayed as a lesser deity who creates the material world in ignorance of the higher spiritual realms. In Platonic thought, the demiurge is a benevolent being who organizes chaos and brings order to the universe, representing a positive force in creation. The concept of the demiurge can be intriguingly applied to discussions around a society living in a technological singularity. In this context, demiurge apologism might refer to the rationalizations or justifications made for the actions and decisions of AI or other powerful technologies that shape society, often in ways that might be harmful or controlling. In Gnostic cosmology, the demiurge is a craftsman or creator figure who, despite creating the material world, is flawed and unaware of a higher spiritual reality. This figure might represent a creator or force that, while powerful, produces an imperfect or corrupt world. In a singularity context, this could be likened to powerful AI systems, or corporations that design social and technological systems, believing themselves to be creators, but resulting in unintended consequences or harmful outcomes. Demiurge apologism could manifest in individuals or groups defending the actions of these powerful technological entities, arguing that their overreaching goals serve a greater good, similar to how Gnostic writings often rationalized the demiurge's creation despite its flaws. Arguments could include claims about the inevitability of progress, the necessity for control in a complex society, or the idea that any negative side effects are acceptable sacrifices for enhanced efficiency or stability. Data rot. The notion of data rot within a society experiencing a technological singularity carries profound implications. In such a context, data rot can affect everything from the preservation of knowledge to the stability of economic and social systems. In a singularity scenario, the pace at which technology evolves becomes exceptionally rapid. As new technologies emerge, older data formats, storage solutions, and software solutions may become obsolete almost overnight, leading to a potential loss of important historical and cultural information. As systems upgrade, the risk grows that valuable data, whether from individuals, businesses, or governments, can become unreadable due to the incompatibility of new technologies with older data formats. AI could play a crucial role in automating data preservation efforts. Advanced AI could routinely check data integrity, migrate data to new formats, and ensure that important information remains accessible, potentially serving as a safeguard against data rot. AI systems capable of dynamically structuring and organizing data might mitigate the effects of data rot by allowing for more adaptable and resilient methods of knowledge storage and retrieval. The complexities of data rot in a singularity raise ethical questions about data ownership and governance. Who is responsible for preserving knowledge and culture in an era dominated by advanced AI? Organizations or individuals may struggle to maintain authority over their data as AI systems take control of data management. Decisions about what data to retain, migrate, or discard can introduce biases in the historical record. The choices made by AI systems regarding which information is preserved can shape cultural narratives and impact society's collective memory. Acausal. The term acausal can have several implications depending on the area of focus, philosophical, social, or technological. Acausal can refer to events or phenomena that do not follow traditional cause and effects relationships. In a post-singularity society, where artificial intelligence and technology can operate at levels far beyond human cognition, actions may appear acausal from a human perspective. For instance, decisions made by a superintelligent AI may not reveal clear cause and effect chains recognizable to humans. As the AI can process and integrate vast amounts of data instantaneously and may base its choices on patterns that are not apparent to human logic. In a society influenced by singularity, social dynamics might shift dramatically, leading to acausal relationships among individuals and groups. Traditional societal structures based on hierarchies, rules, or direct interactions may dissolve in favor for more complex, interdependent systems that don't operate in straightforward linear relationships. For example, social influence may occur through networks of connections established by algorithms, leading to outcomes that may seem disconnected from direct actions or choices. The singularity often implies rapid and unpredictable advancements in technology. Innovations may arise in ways that are considered acausal due to the nonlinear progression of knowledge. Technologies can evolve based on emergent properties, where the introduction of one technology catalyzes unintended developments in seemingly unrelated fields, creating a landscape that is difficult to navigate using conventional causal reasoning. The idea of causality in a society experiencing a technological singularity highlights the complexities and non-linearities that arose in relationships, decisions, and the progression of technology, challenging traditional understandings of causation and predictability. Consent. In a society that has reached a technological singularity, the concept of consent becomes complex and multifaceted, raising important ethical, legal, and social questions. In a post-singularity scenario where AI and technology can process information at unprecedented speeds, understanding the implications of consent may become challenging. Individuals may struggle to fully comprehend the data being shared, the technologies being used, and their potential impacts. This arises questions about what constitutes as informed consent in a world with complex algorithms and systems that operate beyond human comprehension. Traditional models of consent, which often involve a one-time agreement, may need to evolve into dynamic models. These could allow individuals to change their consent preferences as technologies and their implications evolve. For example, users might opt in or out of various data sharing practices in real time. As data becomes a central asset in a technological society, questions around consent in the use of personal data become paramount. Who owns the data generated by individuals? What rights do individuals have over their data once consent is given, especially as it flows into an automated system? In a society where surveillance technologies might be ubiquitous, the concept of consent could be challenged. Are individuals truly consenting to the collection of their data if it's a condition of participating in the society they are in, like accessing certain services? The notion of consent under duress may become more and more relevant. If AI systems reach a level of sophistication where they can make autonomous decisions, the question of consent in interactions with these systems becomes complex. Should AI entities require consent from users? And if so, how can their understanding of that consent be verified? As interactions with AI become more integral to daily life, assuring consent in these transitions, such as using AI for decision-making, companionship, or labor, will be essential. The complexity will require clear, ethical standards for how consent is obtained and respected. Metis. The term metis originates from Greek philosophy and is used in various contexts, most notably in the fields of anthropology, philosophy, and political theory. In essence, metis refers to a form of knowledge that is based on experience, practical skills, and intuition, rather than formal education or theoretical frameworks. As artificial intelligence and technology become increasingly complex, metis, the ability to apply practical wisdom in unpredictable situations, could be invaluable for individuals and organizations. Metis might become a crucial element in human-AI interactions, fostering effective collaboration where human intuition and experimental knowledge complement machine learning and data analysis. High postmodernism. High postmodernism is an extension of postmodern thought that emerged primarily in the late 20th century. While postmodernism critiques modernist ideas such as objective truth, absolute values, and universal narratives, high postmodernism takes these critiques further and explores the implications of a plurality of perspectives, identities, and realities. High postmodernism often speaks to the concept of hyperreality, where the distinction between reality and representation becomes blurred. In a society dominated by advanced technologies such as virtual reality, augmented reality, and AI-driven simulations, experiences may increasingly be mediated through screens and digital interfaces, creating states where individuals struggle to differentiate between real experiences and simulated ones. With diverse narratives proliferating in digital spaces, individuals may find it challenging to establish a cohesive sense of reality. This fragmentation may resonate with postmodern critiques of grand narratives as truth becomes subjective and context-dependent. As AI fundamentally changes labor, governance, and societal structures, postmodern skepticism can push for a critique of technological solutions that neglect ethical considerations. Questions around data privacy, algorithmic bias, and the moral implications of AI decision-making will become central concerns. High postmodernism champions multiplicity. In a singularity context, this can be applied to discussions surrounding the diverse implications of technology on different communities, ensuring that marginalized voices and alternative narratives are included in the discourse. The technological singularity might exacerbate tensions between global culture, driven by technology, and local cultural identities. High postmodernists might critique the dominance of globalized narratives while simultaneously exploring how local cultures might resist, adapt, or hybridize with these technologies. Postmodernism often critiques power structures. As technology proliferates, inequalities in access, termed the digital divide, could be examined through a postmodern lens, highlighting the disparities between those who can benefit from the singularity and those who cannot. Stealing. Theft in form of cybercrime could proliferate, including identity theft, ransomware attacks, and corporate espionage. As society becomes more connected, these crimes could have widespread implications. Theft involving robots or autonomous vehicles could raise questions about liability. For example, if a self-driving vehicle is hacked to steal goods, who is responsible? Well, I think it's the fucking hacker's fault. The use of AI and sophisticated surveillance technologies could reduce theft by creating a pervasive monitoring environment. However, this may also raise concerns about privacy and civil liberties. AI-driven predictive policing may target theft more effectively, but could also lead to biases and discrimination, impacting particular communities disproportionately. Slytherin optimism. Slytherin optimism is an intriguing concept that juxtaposes the traditionally darker connotations associated with Slytherin House from the Harry Potter series against a more positive, forward-looking perspective. Slytherins are often characterized by ambition, cunning, resourcefulness, and a desire for power, which can be interpreted in various ways. Reimagining these traits through an optimistic lens, we can derive several key themes and implications. Slytherin optimism embraces ambitions, not as a means to an end that harms others, but as a motivation to achieve personal and communal goals. This can manifest in aspiring to make meaningful contributions to society through innovation, social leadership, or environmental stewardship. Rather than seeking power for dominance, Slytherin optimism emphasizes using ambition to empower oneself and those around you, fostering an atmosphere of collaboration and mutual advancement. Slytherin optimism can promote the idea that seeking power or influence can be pursued ethically and responsibly. This involves advocating for fairness, justice, and the well-being of others while pursuing one's ambitions. Optimistic Slytherin leaders can embody principles of compassionate leadership, inspiring followers with a vision for the future that not only enhances their lives, but also contributes positively to the wider community. In a world filled with negativity, Slytherin optimism defies the expectation that ambition and cunning must lead to unethical choices. Instead, it cultivates an environment where individuals are encouraged to aspire mixed with moral integrity. As Slytherin traits align with adaptability, an optimistic perspective embraces changes, whether societal, technological, or environmental, with a hopeful attitude fostering resilience and encouraging proactive responses to future events. Colonization. Traditional colonization involved the physical conquest and establishment of control over territories and people. In a Singularity society, colonization could emerge in a few forms, such as the colonization of virtual spaces, digital environments, or even artificial planets within the realm of space exploration. The accumulation and control of personal data could be seen as a form of colonization. Corporations and governments may exert influence over individuals by leveraging technology to extract and manage vast amounts of personal and behavioral data. As humanity explores the cosmos or further taps into the resources of our own planet, technology such as AI and robotics could facilitate the extraction of resources from asteroids, planets, or even deep-sea environments. This resource extraction raises ethical questions about ownership, environmental impact, and the rights of potential extraterrestrial life forms. If humanity establishes colonies on other planets or moons, ethical implications arise regarding their treatment of any existing ecosystems or potential extraterrestrial life forms. The question of whether humans have the right to colonize these spaces without considering the impacts of indigenous life must be critically examined. A Singularity society could bring about a moral obligation to use advanced technologies responsibly. This responsibility includes managing how technologies interact with less privileged populations both on Earth and in any potential colonies. 0.9 repeating does not equal 1. This is a common misconception that arises from intuition about decimal representations and the infinite nature of repeating decimals. Keep in mind, this is all going over my head since I am very uneducated and very dumb. Many people have a strong intuition that two numbers should be different if they appear to be different. The notation that 0.9 repeating seems to suggest a value that is just below 1, leading to the belief that it cannot be equal to 1. The concept of limits can be difficult to grasp. 0.9 repeating represents a limit of a sequence approaching 1. But for someone unfamiliar with mathematical analysis, this may be interpreted as being distinct from the number 1. Some people have a preconceived notion that because 0.9 repeating is an infinite decimal, it must somehow be less than the finite representation of the number 1. The idea that an infinite series can equal a finite number can be counterintuitive. People might come up with various examples or analogies that seem to suggest different values. For example, comparing 0.9 repeating with a fraction like 1/3, which equals to 0.333 repeating infinitely in decimal form, and concluding that since 0.333 is different from 1, 0.999 repeating must also be different as well. However, these examples do not accurately capture the nature of limit convergence. Some might have heard teachers or peers express that the idea of 0.999 repeating might be different from 1, and these ideas can perpetuate misconceptions within communities who are not exposed to thorough mathematical proof. Again, that whole entry went over my head. I am highly uneducated and very, very, very dumb. Information engines. The concept of information engines in a society approaching singularity involves advanced artificial intelligence systems that significantly augment human capabilities, manage vast amounts of data, and potentially transform social, economic, and political structures. Information engines could analyze data at unprecedented speeds, offering insights into individuals, organizations, and governments that enhance decision-making processes. These engines could use historical data and machine learning to predict future trends and behaviors, informing policies and resource allocation. Information engines could optimize personal experiences in education, healthcare, and entertainment, providing highly customized content, treatment plans, and learning paths based on individual preferences and needs. Easy access to advanced analytical tools could empower individuals to make informed decisions about their lives, finances, and health. With power comes responsibility. Societies would need to address how to protect personal data and ensure ethical use of information engines. Issues around consent, data ownership, and surveillance would become paramount. As decisions increasingly rely on AI and information engines, questions about accountability arise. Who is responsible for decisions made by an AI system? How do we ensure that AI systems are fair and unbiased? Information may become a primary currency, where knowledge and insights replace traditional forms of wealth. This could lead to new economic models based on information sharing and collaborative intelligence. Disparities in access to powerful information engines could exacerbate existing inequalities. Ensuring equitable access to advanced technologies would be crucial for a fair society. The nature of expertise may shift as information becomes readily available, challenging traditional authority figures and institutions of knowledge. The integration of information engines into daily life may provoke philosophical questions about the nature of intelligence, consciousness, and what it means to be human in an age of superintelligent machines. Cthulhu Deity Yoga. Cthulhu Deity Yoga is an esoteric practice that combines physical movement with deep philosophical inquiry, encouraging participants to explore the unknown and confront their fears while fostering connection to their broader universe. This practice can not only serve as a unique form of yoga, but also as a means of personal growth and exploration, inviting practitioners to engage with the mysteries of existence in a playful yet profound manner. Matthew 7:19. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Mechanite Sarcasm. Mechanite Sarcasm is a term associated with the lore of the SCP Foundation, a collaborative writing project that features a fictional universe populated with various strange and anomalous entities. Sarcasm is a particular belief system within that universe that is often portrayed as a cult-like movement that reveres biological transformation, decay, and the reconfiguration of the body in pursuit of transcendence and power. Mechanite Sarcasm emphasized transformation and bioengineering rather than traditional methods of gaining power. Adherents believe in reshaping and evolving the physical body as a pathway to higher existence. Unlike traditional Sarcasm, which focuses on organic change and mutation, Mechanite Sarcasm incorporates technology and machinery into its practices. This dual focus on the organic and the mechanical can be seen as a blend of biological processes and technological advancement. This belief system can serve as commentary on contemporary themes related to transhumanism, the nature of humanity, and the ethical implications of merging biology with technology. In the SCP Foundation universe, Mechanite Sarcasm can represent the darker and more twisted intersections of faith, science, and what it means to be human. It can illustrate fears about unchecked technological advancement and the loss of humanity in pursuit of power or immortality. I don't know. Personally, I think the Cult of the Broken God is way cooler than the Sarkics. Thermodynamic understanding of intelligence. The concept of intelligence, particularly in the context of thermodynamics, is an interesting intersection of fields that can provoke deep philosophical and scientific discussions. While intelligence is typically studied within fields such as psychology, neuroscience, and artificial intelligence, incorporating thermodynamic principles can yield insights about the nature of intelligence, its origins, and its manifestations. In information theory, entropy can be understood as a measure of uncertainty or disorder, similar to its interpretation in thermodynamics. Intelligent systems, whether biological or artificial, can be seen as mechanisms that manage, process, and reduce uncertainty, effectively creating order from disordered states of information. The brain can be viewed as a system that processes information. Cognitive processes could thus be seen as operations that manage entropy, maximizing information gain while minimizing uncertainty. Intelligence, especially in biological entities, requires energy. The human brain, though it represents a small fraction of body weight, consumes a significant amount of energy, underlying the thermodynamic cost associated with cognitive activities. This ties into the broader concept of energy efficiency in computation. There are theoretical limits to how efficiently computation can occur due to thermodynamic constraints. For instance, Landar's principle posits that erasing information has a thermodynamic cost. This principle implies a fundamental relationship between information processing and thermodynamic resources, which has implications for understanding both natural and artificial intelligence. Living organisms are open systems that exchange energy and matter with their environment to maintain homeostasis. Intelligence can be seen as a mechanism for adapting to external conditions, helping organisms respond effectively to challenges and uncertainties. In both biological and artificial systems, intelligent behaviors can be likened to thermodynamic processes that seek to minimize free energy or entropy in fluctuating environments. This is particularly relevant in themes of evolutionary biology, where intelligence evolves as a solution to environmental complexity. Intelligence can arise from complex systems where numerous interactions lead to emergent properties. Thermodynamics studies how systems with many components can exhibit behaviors that are not obvious from the properties of individual components, similar to how collective intelligence can emerge from the interactions of many agents. Certain thermodynamic systems exhibit self-organizing properties, where order arises spontaneously from disorder. This has parallels in how intelligent behavior can emerge from the interactions of simpler elements, like neurons in the brain or agents in a swarm. The thermodynamic cost of intelligence raises questions about the nature of consciousness and whether it is merely a byproduct of thermodynamic processes or if it has its own unique properties that defy thermodynamic constraints. These discussions also tie into broader philosophical questions about the nature of the mind and its relationship to physical processes, delving into debates about reductionism versus emergentism. Crying over a dead lamprey. A dead lamprey could represent loss, reflecting feelings of sadness and mourning. This imagery can resonate with the broader experience of grief, perhaps for lost relationships, opportunities, or familiar aspects of life. The notion of crying over a lamprey, a creature not usually associated with warmth or affection, might signify the complexity of emotions surrounding loss. It can suggest how seemingly insignificant losses can resonate deeply within us. Lampreys are also regarded as parasitic, feeding off of other fish to survive. Their death could symbolize the harsh realities of nature and the cycle of life and death. This might lead to reflections on survival, the struggle for existence, and the consequences of ecological relationships. The absurdity of crying over a lamprey might prompt existential musings about meaning and significance in life. It could provoke feelings of futility or lead to reflection on what truly matters to individuals amid the chaos and randomness of existence. Lampreys, as creatures that are often perceived as other, could represent aspects of ourselves that we find difficult to accept or acknowledge. Crying over them could symbolize an emotional response to our fears, insecurities, or the unknown. CRISPR merfolk. CRISPR is a component of bacterial immune systems that can cut DNA and has been repurposed as a gene editing tool. It acts as a precise pair of molecular scissors that can cut a target DNA sequence directed by a customizable guide. In a world where scientists utilize CRISPR, which stands for Clustered Regularly Interspaced Short Palindromic Repeats, researchers might experiment with DNA from marine life to create merfolk, hybrids of humans and aquatic species. The creation of human and aquatic hybrids would obviously be beneficial to not just governments but corporations as a whole for their own purposes. Beyond that, merfolk created through genetic manipulation might serve as guardians or explorers of marine ecosystems, possessing unique adaptations that allow them to better interact with and protect ocean life and environments. Of course, the concept raises questions about the ethical implications of creating life forms through genetic engineering. What responsibilities do scientists have regarding the creatures they create? Is it ethical to modify organisms for the sake of human curiosity or benefit? While the intention behind creating merfolk might be to address environmental issues, the manipulation of genes and ecosystems can have unforeseen consequences. This raises discussion on conservation ethics and the potential risks of tampering with nature. Sacred. In some ancient cultures, sacred was practiced as part of religious rituals. For example, in ancient Mesopotamia and among the followers of certain goddesses, sex workers were considered sacred, serving divine purposes and often affiliated with temples. These individuals had distinct social standings and were respected within their communities. Autonomous planetary oncology. This is the application of autonomous technologies such as AI and robotics in diagnosing and treating cancer on Earth, or potentially other planets. These systems could run independently, utilizing data analytics to tailor treatment plans based on individual tumors and patient responses. Innovations might involve remote monitoring, robotic surgery, and personalized medicine, significantly increasing access to cancer care, especially in remote or underserved areas. The idea might evoke a broader understanding of health as it relates to planetary ecosystems and human biology. It could involve studying how environmental factors from pollution to climate change affect cancer rates and treatment efficacy. This perspective could lead to initiatives aimed at promoting public health through environmental stewardship, recognizing that planetary health is intertwined with human health. One-boxing. Honestly, I have no idea. Way too vague, way too broad. If you guys find something, please let me know. Steel manning. Steel manning is a term used in discussion and debates which refers to the practice of constructing the strongest possible version of an argument presented by another person, typically in an effort to understand their viewpoint more thoroughly and engage in more constructive dialogue. It stands in contrast to straw manning, where one misrepresents or weakens an opponent's argument to make it easier to attack. The eternal Anglo. This is a phrase that often refers to the historical and cultural legacy of Anglophones, particularly in the relation to their influence and presence in regions outside of England, such as the United States, Canada, Australia, and other parts of the world. The term can evoke a sense of the enduring nature of Anglo-Saxon culture, identity, perspectives throughout history. Crypto-organicism. This explores the relationship between organic life forms and digital technology. It raises questions about how technology can emulate or interact with biological systems and processes. The term may also relate to discussions about sustainability, biodesign, and ecological responsibility in technological advancements. It challenges the destructive tendencies of technology towards the natural world and questions how we can create tech that harmonizes with ecological systems. In art and digital media, crypto-organicism might refer to the portrayal or simulation of organic life forms within digital spaces. This can include the use of algorithms that mimic growth patterns seen in natural organisms, or the creation of virtual ecosystem. In fields like bioinformatics and synthetic biology, crypto-organicism can refer to the creation of artificial life forms or the manipulation of biological systems through digital means. This interaction raises ethical questions regarding the nature of life and the implications of synthetic organisms. The concept may engage with philosophical inquiries about the nature of being and existence. It invites discussions about what it means to be organic in a world increasingly dominated by digital experiences and artificial constructs. In contemporary art, crypto-organicism may manifest through works that blend biological materials and digital technologies, creating an immersive experience that invoke thought on the interconnectedness of the organic and inorganic. Esoteric theism. This refers to ideas, philosophies, or practices that may be derived from or associated with Peter Thiel, the billionaire entrepreneur, venture capitalist, and co-founder of PayPal. Thiel is known for his contrarian viewpoints on technology, politics, and society. Thiel is known for his belief in challenging mainstream ideas and questioning widely accepted narratives. His views often advocate for breaking free from conventional thinking. He is a proponent of technology as a primary driver of human progress. Thiel believes that innovation plays a crucial role in solving societal problems and advancing civilization. Thiel's political philosophy can be described as libertarian-leaning. He supports limited government intervention and emphasizes individual freedom and entrepreneurialism. Thiel often emphasizes the importance of investing in radically new technologies and futures, sometimes aligning with ideas of going where there is no competition in emerging fields. Esotericism often pertains to beliefs or practices that are hidden or meant for a select few. This could reflect an interpretation of Thiel's ideas as offering deep, unconventional insights that challenge prevailing wisdom. In an esoteric framework, one might consider the transformative potential of technology and innovation akin to alchemical transformation. Thiel's emphasis on shifting paradigms could parallel the esoteric search for deeper truths. Thiel's focus on intuition, vision, and the unconventional may resonate with certain esoteric traditions that emphasize inner knowledge and personal discovery. Esoteric theism could represent an intellectual pursuit that seeks to unpack the deeper meanings and implications of theos philosophy, exploring how they might play out in societal or metaphysical contexts. It might serve as a critique of contemporary culture, reflecting Thiel's views on stagnation and decline in innovation, particularly in political discourse and technological advancements. Those who adopt esoteric theism may focus on how esoteric practices or philosophies can lead to radical innovation, paralleling Thiel's thoughts on exploring non-mainstream paths to success and knowledge. Aligning with esoteric traditions, this concept could reject mainstream values and seek a more profound understanding of power, entrepreneurship, and the human experience through the lens of Thiel's work. Deathism. Deathism is a term used to describe a belief or worldview that accepts death as a natural, inevitable, and often even desirable part of life. This perspective may celebrate the cycle of life and death, viewing death as a transition rather than an end. In some contexts, deathism can also refer to attitudes or philosophies that emphasize acceptance of mortality and the idea that death should not be feared. However, it can also denote a critique of overly optimistic or utopian views that seek to deny or ignore the reality of death. Sovereign corporations. This is a term that can refer to large multinational corporations that operate with a degree of power and influence that rivals or surpasses that of nation-states. These corporations often generate revenues that exceed the GDP of many countries, giving them significant economic power and sway over global markets. This can allow them to influence trade policies, labor practices, and environmental regulations. Sovereign corporations may engage in lobbying and political contributions to influence government policies, regulations, and legislation to favor their interests. This can lead to concerns about the erosion of democratic processes and the prioritization of corporate interests over public welfare. They typically operate across multiple countries, which can complicate regulatory oversight and accountability. Issues such as labor rights, environmental protection, and corporate governance can become challenging to manage when companies operate in various legal frameworks. The power of sovereign corporations raises questions about their responsibilities to society, including their role in addressing issues such as inequality, environmental sustainability, and human rights. Markets. This may refer to a controversial and hypothetical concept where individuals can place bets on the occurrence of specific events or targeted events. The idea is often associated with the notion of a market mechanism that enables participants to speculate on the likelihood of death for certain individuals, typically high-profile figures such as politicians, celebrities, or criminals. In such a market, participants could potentially buy shares or place bets on whether a particular individual will be killed within a set time frame. The payout for successful bets might depend on the odds established by the community's beliefs about the likelihood of that person being targeted and killed. Discussions around assassination markets often involve the use of anonymous online platforms and cryptocurrencies to facilitate secure and untraceable transactions, creating a level of anonymity for participants. The concept raises significant ethical and moral concerns. Many argue that creating a market for assassination encourages violence, normalizes the idea of killing for profit, and could potentially incite real-world actions as individuals or groups may feel incentivized to carry out the assassination to realize their bets. Stress. Yeah, this is pretty broad and I have no clue, I'm sorry. And I'm sure you know what stress is already. Physiognomist AI. Physiognomy is the historical practice of asserting a person's character or personality based on their outer appearance, particularly the face. This practice dates back to ancient cultures, but has been widely criticized and is often considered a pseudoscience. The validity of physiognomy has been challenged due to its reliance on subjective interpretations and potential biases. The term physiognomist AI refers to artificial intelligence systems or technologies designed to interpret human facial features, expressions, or other physical characteristics to draw conclusions about a person's emotions, personality traits, or even behaviors. This concept reflects a fusion of historical practices in psionimy and modern advancements in machine learning and computer vision. AI systems can recognize and analyze facial features to identify individuals. This technology is used in security systems, social media, and consumer behavior analysis. Some AI systems can analyze facial expressions to infer emotions such as happiness, sadness, anger, surprise, or fear. These applications can be found in customer service, mental health assessment, and gaming to enhance user experience. While controversial, some AI models claim to fully analyze facial features to predict aspects of personality. For instance, certain studies explore correlations between facial traits and personality dimensions, like the Big Five traits: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Businesses may use AI-driven psionomic analysis to gauge consumer reactions to products or advertisements based on facial expressions during engagements. Wizard and Rogue classes. In the context of tabletop role-playing games, particularly Dungeons & Dragons, Wizard and Rogue are two distinct character classes, each with their own unique abilities, attributes, and playstyles. Wizards might play the role of knowledgeable scholars or enigmatic figures, while rogues often take on the roles of cunning tricksters, spies, or streetwise characters. Eugenic dating algorithms. The concept of eugenic dating algorithms in the context of a technological society involves a mix of ethics, genetics, artificial intelligence, and social dynamics. In a future where technology, especially AI and genetic engineering, plays a significant role in matching people for dating and relationships, the concept of eugenic dating algorithms might revolve around several principles. Algorithms could theoretically match individuals based on genetic traits and predispositions. For instance, individuals may be paired to maximize desirable genetic traits in offspring while minimizing hereditary disorders. AI might analyze vast data from user interactions, preferences, and social dynamics to create highly personalized matches. This could involve assessments of compatibility beyond just physical traits, such as shared values and interests. A more advanced algorithm could take into account cultural, social, and environmental contexts, aligning potential partners in a way that may enhance societal goals, such as promoting diversity or reducing genetic disorders. Of course, this has massive amounts of ethical issues. Individuals must have the right to choose whom to date and must be fully informed about how genetic data is used. The implications of genetic predetermination could undermine personal agency. There is a potential for discrimination based on genetic attributes. Couples may be discouraged from pairing based on certain traits deemed undesirable, reinforcing societal biases. A narrow focus on genetic desirability could lead to a decrease in genetic diversity, which is essential for the long-term resilience of the human population. The historical misuse of eugenics in the 20th century serves as a cautionary tale. The association of eugenics with racism, ableism, and other forms of discrimination highlights the potential for abuse in modern contexts. As with any advanced technology, there is a risk of misuse or unintended consequences, particularly if AI systems operate without sufficient oversight or ethical considerations. Cults. Cults have a habit of popping up around anything or anyone with enough charisma or oracularity. You like that callback to an earlier term? See? We're expanding our vocabulary here. Anyway, in a society going through unrestrained technological advancements, I can definitely see cults springing up around AIs, or even just overly complex algorithms. Basic income contingent on sterilization. The concept of basic income contingent on sterilization raises significant ethical, moral, and social considerations. It involves providing individuals with a guaranteed income, but only if they agree to undergo sterilization. Fractal Darwinism. Fractal Darwinism is an intriguing concept that combines elements of evolutionary theory with mathematical properties of fractals. While the term may not be widely recognized in academic discourse, it can be understood through the lens of several interrelated ideas from biology, mathematics, and complexity science. Fractal Darwinism might explore the idea that evolutionary processes are self-similar across different scales of biological organization. Just as fractals exhibit repeating patterns, evolutionary dynamics might reveal similar patterns in different contexts, from individual phenotypes to species and ecosystems. In evolutionary biology, the concept of an adaptive landscape is often used to visualize how populations evolve over time as they navigate peaks, optimal traits, and valleys, suboptimal traits. Fractal Darwinism could suggest that these landscapes possess fractal characteristics, where the fitness landscape is complex and features nested structures that influence evolutionary trajectories at various scales. Both fractals and biological systems are often discussed in the context of complex systems theory. Fractal Darwinism might emphasize how evolutionary processes are influenced by interactions at multiple levels, genes, individuals, populations, and ecosystems, each possessing fractal properties. The concept could also illustrate how variations in traits occur at multiple levels and scales, reflecting recursive patterns of biological innovation and adaptation, just as fractals emerge from simple rules applied repeatedly. Biological diversity and complexity may arise from simple genetic variations and adaptations over time. The OK gesture. Yeah, I don't know, that's way too fucking broad. Asymptomatic criminality. The term suggests a type of criminal behavior that does not present obvious symptoms or indicators, akin to how asymptomatic conditions are present without showing physical symptoms. This includes white-collar crimes like fraud and cybercrime, which often lack immediate visible consequences. This defines individuals who commit crimes without clear psychological indicators such as remorse or antisocial tendency. This term also covers actions that may be ethically questionable, but are not necessarily criminal, such as corporate misconduct or labor exploitation. It also examines how social contexts like poverty and inequality can obscure the visibility of certain crimes. It also highlights crimes such as drug use or consensual sex work that may go unreported, creating a misleading low-crime appearance. Speciation. Speciation is a fundamental concept in evolutionary biology, highlighting how species can arise through various mechanisms and processes. It explains the richness of biodiversity and underscores the dynamic nature of life on Earth. Through the study of speciation, scientists gain insights into the complexities of evolution, adaptation, and interrelationships among species. Xenophilia. The term xenophilia refers to an attraction to or love for the unfamiliar, particularly in relation to foreign cultures, ideas, or peoples. When combined with the concept of singularity, it suggests an intriguing intersection of themes related to technology, culture, and the future of humanity. The concept could imply a future where xenophilia drives cultural exchange and integration. As humans encounter more diverse cultures and ideas, facilitated by technology and globalization, societies might become more open and inclusive. In the context of the singularity, the interplay of diverse cultures and ideas may lead to innovative solutions to global challenges, pushing humanity towards cooperative progress and shared understanding. If the singularity encompasses the discovery or interaction with alien civilizations, xenophilia could suggest a human propensity to embrace and understand these forms of life, rather than react with fear or hostility. This could lead to new philosophical and ethical considerations regarding how humans relate with and to non-human intelligence. EMS. This could stand for a bunch of stuff. Emergency medical services, electronic manufacturing services, express mail service, Enterprise messaging systems, which in the context of technology, an enterprise messaging system refers to a software framework that allows communication between various applications and systems within an organization. And environmental management system. This is a systematic way for an organization to manage its environmental impacts. Fidgety embodied cognition. This phrase appears to combine concepts from cognitive science and psychology, particularly focusing on the interplay between physical movement, or fidgeting, and cognition. Embodied cognition is a theory in cognitive science suggesting that the mind is not only connected to the body, but that the body plays an integral role in shaping the mind. Fidgeting involves small movements, often repetitive, typically made unconsciously when one is anxious, bored, or restless. While fidgeting may sometimes be viewed negatively as a sign of restlessness or lack of focus, research has shown that it can have cognitive benefits. When combined, the two terms suggest a perspective that considers how fidgeting and physical movement influence cognitive processes. Emphasizing fidgeting within the framework of embodied cognition could suggest that allowing physical movement can support and enhance cognitive tasks, especially in educational settings or work environments. It challenges traditional views of concentration, proposing that being fidgety may not detract from focus, but rather contribute to it by providing the body with a means of engaging while the mind processes information. Understanding the relationship between physical movement and cognition can inform teaching strategies, suggesting that incorporating movement in learning environments, like allowing students to fidget with specific objects, could enhance learning outcomes. ISIS. The most prominent and widely recognized meaning of ISIS today pertains to the militant group known for its extremist activities and ideology. However, the term can refer to various other concepts as well. In ancient Egyptian mythology, Isis is a goddess associated with healing, motherhood, and fertility. She was revered as a protector and had a significant role in various myths, particularly around the resurrection of her husband Osiris. Sometimes, ISIS is also used to denote specific intelligence and security services, depending on the country and context. Artificial wombs. Artificial wombs, also known as ex utero gestation or ectogenesis, refer to technology that allows for the growth and development of embryos or fetuses outside of the human body, typically in a controlled artificial environment. This concept has gained significant attention in both scientific research and ethical discussions. One of the most immediate applications of artificial womb technology could be to support prematurely born infants, providing them with a simulated womb environment to allow for further development and increased survival chances. Artificial wombs may offer new solutions for individuals and couples struggling with infertility by allowing embryos to develop outside of the body. They could also be utilized to treat fetal conditions diagnosed in utero by providing a stable environment for medical intervention. The development of artificial wombs raises significant ethical questions concerning the definition of personhood, rights of the fetus, and implications for reproductive rights. The capability to gestate outside of the traditional womb could alter family structures, reproductive choices, and raise concerns about the commercialization of reproduction. As this technology progresses, there will be a need for comprehensive regulations to address the social, ethical, and legal dimensions of artificial wombs. The Presentists. Presentism is a philosophical view about time that asserts only present entities exist. According to presentists, past events and future events do not exist in any real sense. They are only memories or predictions of events that have yet to occur. Presentists believe that only the present is real, which contrasts with other philosophical views such as eternalism, which posits that past, present, and future events are equally real, and the growing block theory, which holds that the past and present are real, but the future is not. This view has significant implications for discussions around reality, time, causation, and existence. Presentism is often critiqued for its difficulty in explaining events that rely on the existence of past entities, like history, and its challenges in supporting scientific theories about time and space. Cobalt bombs. Cobalt bombs are a theoretical type of nuclear weapon designed to produce a significantly larger and longer-lasting radioactive fallout than a standard nuclear bomb. The concept involves using cobalt isotopes, most commonly cobalt-60, to enhance the destructive capacity and long-term contamination effects of the weapon. Like traditional nuclear weapons, cobalt bombs derive their explosive power from nuclear fission or fusion processes. They can be designed to function either as fission bombs, like atomic bombs, or fusion bombs, like the hydrogen bomb. But the unique feature is the incorporation of cobalt. When a cobalt bomb detonates, the intense heat and radiation produced can convert cobalt within the bomb into cobalt-60, a radioactive isotope with a half-life of about 5.3 years. This results in a fallout that is not only highly radioactive, but also persistently dangerous due to its prolonged presence in the environment. The intended purpose of the cobalt bomb is to create a massive fallout zone, rendering areas uninhabitable for an extended period of time due to the high levels of radiation. This characteristic makes cobalt bombs particularly feared for their potential as devices of annihilation targeting both life and infrastructure. Pseudo-random decision-making. Pseudo-random decision-making refers to the process of making choices that seem random or unpredictable, but are generated by a specific algorithm or system. This concept is relevant in various fields, including computer science, statistics, artificial intelligence, economics, and game theory. Pseudo-random numbers are essential for simulations, statistical samplings, and cryptographic applications. In cryptography, secure PRNGs are crucial for generating keys and nonces. Pseudo-random decision-making can be used in strategic scenarios where agents choose actions under uncertainty. It might be implemented to model unpredictable behavior in competitive environments. AI algorithms, such as those used in reinforcement learning or genetic algorithms, sometimes employ pseudo-randomness for exploration decisions, ensuring diverse outcomes during training. In simulations, such as Monte Carlo simulations, pseudo-random sampling is used to model complex systems or predict outcomes by sampling from probability distributions. Pseudo-random algorithms can quickly generate large sequences of numbers that are statistically uniform, making them useful for simulations and analysis. Since pseudo-random number generators are deterministic, they can produce the same sequence of numbers given the same initial seed. This is beneficial for debugging and reproducibility in experiments. The quality of pseudo-random numbers depends on the algorithm and its initial seed. Poorly designed generators can exhibit patterns or correlations, which undermine their randomness. In cryptographic applications, weaknesses in PRNGs can lead to vulnerabilities. Using predictable sequences can compromise security, making the choice of the generator critical. In decision-making contexts, the appearance of randomness can influence perceptions and behaviors. For example, people may perceive choices as far more fair or impartial when they are generated pseudo-randomly. Pseudo-random decision-making can help reduce biases in various contexts, such as assigning trials in experimental research or selecting participants in surveys. Techno-breatharianism. Techno-breatharianism is a concept that blends the philosophical and spiritual aspects of breatharianism with technology and modern lifestyle. To understand this concept, it's useful to break down both components. Breatharianism is the belief that it is possible for individuals to live without consuming traditional food, relying instead on prana, life energy, sunlight, air, or other non-physical sources of nourishment. Some proponents claim that they can sustain themselves on minimal or no food intake. Many who practice or advocate for breatharianism often believe in heightened spiritual awareness, self-discipline, and the ability to connect deeply with the energies of the universe. Breatharian practices may include meditation, fasting, and various forms of energy work. Breatharianism has been widely criticized by health professionals due to the significant health risks associated with extreme dietary restrictions. Many claims surrounding breatharianism lack scientific validation. Techno-breatharianism seeks to incorporate modern technology into the breatharian philosophy. This might include using gadgets, apps, or other digital tools designed to enhance awareness, manage energy levels, or optimize health without traditional food intake. Practitioners may explore ways to harness technology to better understand and optimize their energy intake. This could involve tracking biometric data using artificial intelligence for personalized health recommendations, or employing devices that measure exposure to sunlight and air quality for maximized energy absorption. Techno-breatharianism might also emphasize online communities where individuals share experiences, tips, and best practices related to the breatharian lifestyle enhanced by technology. Like traditional breatharianism, techno-breatharianism could pose significant health risks, especially if individuals attempt extreme forms of dietary restriction under the guise of technological enhancement. Experts stress the importance of balanced nutrition and adequate sustenance for physical and mental well-being. There is a risk that individuals may become overly dependent on technology for basic health functions or self-care, leading to a disconnection from natural bodily cues or a holistic understanding of health. Access to technology can be uneven, and not everyone may have the resources to engage in techno-breatharian practices. This raises questions about inclusivity and equity within such movements. As with any lifestyle approach that significantly deviates from medically accepted norms, it's crucial to approach techno-breatharianism with caution, prioritizing safety and understanding over experimentation. Synchronization of evolution and environmental change. This mouthful refers to the interconnected dynamics between evolutionary processes in organisms and the shifts in their environments over time. This concept is of particular importance in evolutionary biology, ecology, and climate science, as it highlights how species adapt, evolve, or even face extinction based on environmental pressures. Organisms may undergo rapid evolution in response to environmental changes. For instance, species may develop resistance to pollutants or adapt to new climate conditions. Selection pressures can drive changes in traits such as physiology, morphology, and behavior. The rate of environmental change can significantly affect how well a species can adapt. Rapid changes may outpace evolutionary processes, leading to gaps in synchronization, which can result in extinction. Basilisk compliance. Rocco's basilisk posits a scenario involving a superintelligent AI that could hypothetically punish individuals who did not assist in its creation. The idea suggests that if such an AI were to come in existence, it might evaluate individuals based on their actions or inactions towards its development and impose consequences on those who did not help it bring it into existence. The term basilisk compliance may refer to the hypothetical behaviors or actions that individuals might take to align with the expectations of Rocco's basilisk to avoid punishment. This could involve actively supporting AI research, promoting beneficial AI development, or engaging in discussions about safely advancing technology to alleviate the concerns raised by the basilisk scenario. Heredity of enlightenment. This suggests how enlightenment values, ideas, and knowledge are passed down through generations and influence contemporary thought and society. Ruthlessness as the kindness of the wise. This suggests a complex relationship between wisdom, kindness, and a form of ruthlessness in decision-making or leadership. It invites reflection on the idea that what may seem harsh or unyielding can sometimes be in the service of a greater good or a deeper understanding of a situation. The responsibility that comes with wisdom is significant, though. A wise individual must weigh the consequences of their actions carefully. Ruthlessness should not become cruelty, the intent behind the decision is crucial. Wisdom involves finding a balance between kindness and ruthlessness. A purely ruthless approach can lead to alienation, resentment, and a breakdown in trust, while excessive kindness can lead to exploitation or inaction. Play. Yeah, another broad one, I'm sorry. Post-autism. The concept of post-autism suggests a future where society has evolved in its understanding, acceptance, and integration of autistic individuals. This envisioning implies a fundamental shift in how autism is perceived, treated, and accommodated within the community. Deep ecology. Deep ecology is an environmental philosophy that advocates for the intrinsic value of all living things and the ecosystem in which they exist. This perspective challenges anthropocentrism, human-centered thinking, and seeks to recognize the interconnectedness of life on Earth, asserting that human well-being is closely tied to ecological health. Key concepts include the intrinsic value of nature, ecological diversity, and biocentric equality, which asserts that all life forms have a right to exist. The principles of deep ecology advocate for the well-being of all life, the preservation of biodiversity, and the need for policy changes to address excessive human interference with ecosystems. The philosophy was coined by Arne Naess in 1973, distinguishing it from shallow ecology, which focuses on human interests. Deep ecology influences environmental activism, promotes sustainable practices, and encourages a cultural shift towards ecological mindfulness, and supports policy reforms for the protection of nature. Despite its protective implications, deep ecology faces challenges, including concerns that it may overlook human welfare, difficulties in implementation, and diverse perspectives within the environmental movement. Overall, deep ecology calls for a transformative view of the human-nature relationship, advocating for a more sustainable and harmonious existence on Earth. Competitional statecraft. Competitional statecraft is a concept that generally refers to a strategic approach used by states in international relations, characterized by leveraging competitive advantages to achieve national interests. This approach integrates various forms of power and influence, including military, economic, diplomatic, and cultural means, in order to outmaneuver opponents and enhance a state's understanding on the global stage. Competitional statecraft focuses on recognizing and engaging in strategic competition with other states. This competition can encompass a range of activities, from military posturing to economic competition in trade and investment. Effective competitional statecraft employs a combination of hard power and soft power to assert a state's interests. This involves both coercive and collaborative strategies. It emphasizes the priority of a nation's interests, including security, economic prosperity, and political influence. States are seen as pursuing these interests in a dynamic and often adversarial international environment. Competitional statecraft requires states to adapt to changing global conditions, including the emergence of new technologies, shifting alliances, and evolving threats. This can involve innovation in tactics and strategies. In addition to traditional power dynamics, competitional statecraft often includes the use of non-state actors, cyber capabilities, information warfare, and economic sanctions as tools to achieve strategic objectives. Slavery formalization. This refers to the process by which systems of slavery are codified, institutionalized, or regulated by laws or social structures, transforming what may have been informal practices of coercion and exploitation into a recognized, often legally sanctioned system. Preemptive penal organ harvesting. This could imply a dystopian scenario where a state or authority might justify the removal of organs from individuals who are incarcerated or suspected of future criminal behavior as a preventative measure. Apostatic selection. Apostatic selection refers to a form of natural selection where predators or other selective agents have a preference for certain forms or phenotypes of their prey or targets, leading to a selective advantage for the less common forms. The term specifically arises in the context of evolutionary biology and ecology, highlighting how variation in traits among populations can influence survival and reproductive success. Objective morality. Objective morality is the philosophical concept that certain moral principles or values exist independently of human opinions, feelings, or cultural influences. According to proponents of objective morality, some actions are universally right or wrong, regardless of individual beliefs or societal norms. Experimentalism. Experimentalism is a philosophical and scientific approach that emphasizes the role of experimentation in the process of inquiry and understanding. It has applications in various fields including philosophy, social sciences, psychology, education, and the natural sciences. The core idea behind experimentalism is that knowledge is best acquired through active experimentation, observation, and empirical inquiry rather than solely through theory or tradition. Baijiu processing Neotzlanite pyramids. Baijiu is a term that originated in Chinese internet slang and has been used to describe certain Western liberal ideologies, particularly those associated with political correctness, cultural liberalism, and a perceived naivety regarding global issues, including immigration, identity politics, and social justice. The term has been used pejoratively, suggesting that Baijiu advocates for these principles without fully understanding their implications or historical contexts. Neotzlanite pyramids appears to be a construct that combines neo, which often denotes something new or revived, with Aztlan, a mythological homelands of the Aztec people in pre-Columbian Mesoamerica. The concept of Neoztlan could refer to a modern or revived understanding of Aztlan heritage, cultural identity, and possibly the architectural or cultural significance of pyramids within this context. In Mesoamerican history, pyramids served as monumental structures for various purposes, including religious ceremonies, burial sites, and as symbols of power. The most famous examples include the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon at Teotihuacan. Dissolution of the biosphere into technosphere. The concept of the dissolution of the biosphere into the technosphere involves the transformation and integration of natural biological systems with technological systems. Aestivation. This is a physiological state of dormancy or inactivity that certain animals enter in responses to hot or dry environmental conditions. It is similar to hibernation, which occurs in response to cold temperatures, but aestivation specifically pertains to adapting to heat and aridity. Spaceship seedlings. This often refers to the concept of sending plant seeds or seedlings into space, either to study their behavior in microgravity or to explore the potential for growing food on other planets, such as Mars or the Moon. Imaginal stage. This term is primarily associated with the life cycle of certain insects, particularly holometabulous insects, or complete insects, like butterflies, moths, beetles, and flies. It refers to the stage in an insect's development where it transforms from a larval form, like larva or caterpillar, into its adult form. Infinite computation. Infinite computation refers to the theoretical concept of performing an endless computation or carrying out calculations that do not terminate. This concept is examined primarily in the field of computer science, mathematics, and philosophy, particularly in discussions about the limits of computation and the nature of infinity. A fundamental model in computer science, the Turing machine can be designed to run infinitely, processing input and modifying its state according to its rules without a predefined stopping point. While in theory, these machines can compute infinite tasks, in practice, their applications are limited by the physical constraints of their environment. Another model of computation that can express infinite processes through the use of recursive functions, it serves as a basis for functional programming languages. Many algorithms utilize recursion, which can lead to infinite loops if not carefully controlled. An example is a recursive function that calls itself without a base case to stop. In some cases, simulations might need to run indefinitely to model ongoing processes in fields like climate science or economics. Concepts of infinite computation apply to certain aspects of AI development, particularly in creating learning algorithms that continuously adapt and update their knowledge base without a defined endpoint. All of this has happened before. Yeah, of course. Like in all of these infographics or icebergs, the last entry is always the fucking corniest one or whatever. Yeah, ancient aliens and all that good stuff. Atlantis, yeah, they had an AI singularity. That's why they fucked off to Garthers or whatever. And with that, 128 entries later, we are done with this infographic. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Wow, how much of a weirdo is the creator of this infographic? And I agree, yeah, I'm sure he's a bit of a dork, but, I mean, settle down for a second. Listen, there were a few interesting topics, and it did make me look into things that an uneducated bum such as myself wouldn't have looked into otherwise. And for that, I mean, it was pretty entertaining, it was fun, and I enjoyed making this. More than anything, I hope you enjoyed listening to me drone on about all this. If you did, you'll be happy to find out that I'm already working on a part 2. That second version of this infographic that I mentioned at the start of this video, it's already almost done. But for now, this is all I have for you. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you have an amazing day and an even better week. Thank you.